I wrote it with facts. So I said to my editor, my soon-to-be editor, I would really like to write a book about holograms inside Walt Disney World, but you guys would have to give me full access to your parks. There was a complete pause. She said, excuse me? And I said, I'd have to have unlimited access to your parks. And she said, I'll have to call you back on that. And about a month later, I got a call, and she said, okay, you're in. So I carry a VIP card that gets me into any Disney property around the world. And when I call ahead to the Imagineers, the people who create all the rides on Disney, they will arrange for me to tour the park or wherever I want to go when no one's there. Because that was the idea. You know how you walk out of those parks at the end of the day, you've had this unbelievable day. Well, the first time I was in there with Dave Barry at his camp, I stopped and looked back. And I had that Toy Story moment of Andy's door shutting and all the toys coming alive. And I thought, wait a second, today we've met Goofy and Mickey and Minnie. What do they do when we leave? And I could just see them in there battling the Pirates of the Caribbean and all these villains for control of the park. And I thought, whoa, what if you snuck in here after dark and you ended up in this battle between the good and the bad of Disneyland or Disney World? And you were a part of that. And that's how the holograms end up in this battle with the villains of Walt Disney World. But they gave me this unbelievable access. As my book that I would write, I'm going to tell you about that, was being written and being worked on, it turned out that the attorneys, imagine this, the Disney attorneys actually had to look at my book for 11 months. They ran it through their ranks, approving it or disapproving it. It turned out they approved it. But it took forever. And in that time, my daughter, who was then 5 years old, she's going to be 14 next week, but she was 5 years old, and I was reading Peter Pan to her. And she put her hand across the book, and she said, hey, Dad, how did Peter meet Captain Hook in the first place? And I went, oh my gosh. And I just left her there to look at the pictures, and I went to my office and started making notes, because in the classic, how can this boy fly? Why does he never grow old? How come he can detach from his shadow? Why would he want to do that? All these questions flooded through me, and I realized there was a book about how a boy became Peter Pan. There was a prequel, if you will, before the classic Peter Pan novel. And it happened that I was playing with this crazy rock band a week later, and I was staying with Dave Barry. And we were having breakfast, and over the breakfast table, he said, what are you up to? And I said, you know, I'm thinking about writing a prequel to Peter Pan. And I told him about my daughter covering up the book and asking me this question, and his eyes kind of went wide. And I felt like sort of a seventh grader on my first date. You know, my hands were sweating below the table, and I said, is there any chance you'd want to do this with me? And he said, I'm in. And we decided we would collaborate. I mean, he spends his life writing booger jokes. And up until that moment, I was spending my life killing people. So it seemed like if we combined our talents and had suspenseful, funny stories about pirates trying to kill people, we could write a really fun book. And that became Peter and the Starcatcher. And hopefully it began to answer some of the questions about how a young boy became Peter Pan. We finished this book, and I said to Dave, well, we never got to the shadow thing. Maybe we should write a book about, you know, why you would detach from your shadow. And he said, Ridley, that would be 5 sentences long. 600 pages later, we had Peter and the Shadow Thieves. And now we're really beginning to feel our way through this world. I mean, we're really having fun with this world. And we decided we would write one final book called Peter and the Secret of Rundoon that brought the kids to where they were originally going to go. Whoa, things are running ahead of me. And that's this book, Peter and the Secret of Rundoon. And in this book, the story of King Zarboff and his man-eating snake. We went to Miami. Now, Miami is not really in the United States. I'm not sure it's actually on Earth. And we to Books and Books to open this book, and in the Walt Disney World opening Kingdom Keepers 4. But we went into this store, and Mitchell Kaplan, who runs the bookstore, had decided it would be a very funny practical joke if he rented a snake Now, only in Miami that I know of can you rent a snake. So Mitchell rented a snake, but it wasn't just any snake. It was a 90-pound, 11-foot Burmese python. So Dave and I are reading a chapter about the snake in our gonzo costumes, and this guy comes into the room in a khaki shirt as if he were an actual snake wrangler. There was the smell of beverages on his breath. And he passed the 11-foot snake to Dave, and it went right across Dave's arm. Now this thing is this fat, and it's 11 feet long, and it weighs as much as a sack of concrete. And it goes right across Dave's arm. What's happening? It's supposed to work. It goes right across Dave's arms, right across my arm. Now you get an idea how fat this thing is? And it goes up here, and now it's looking for some place to perch. I'm already needing to change my underwear. And it wraps its thickness around my neck. And it's a constrictor. And it puts its head right by my ear. Now, when I read Harry Potter, and then I saw Harry Potter, the second one, I think, has the snake in it. And he can speak, what is it, parcel tongue? Yeah, parcel tongue. So I thought that was, very entertaining by J.K. Rowling. But until this moment, I didn't know snakes could talk. So we are reading this thing, and in my ear I get this. And Dave is starting to shake. And as we're reading, he says, "Is that you?" And he's reading, "Is that you?" "It's not me, it's the snake." This thing was talking into my ear. Then I did need a change of underwear. So these are some of the wonderful experiences that you have when you're out on book tour. The final book in our trilogy was a fourth book called Peter and the Sword of Mercy. We wrote 4 books in our trilogy because you guys, as readers, sent emails to us, about 20,000 of them, saying that if Peter and the Secret of Randoon was the last book in the series, we were going to get our knees broken by aluminum softball bats. So we wrote a 4th book for you, just really to protect our own safety. And then along comes an idea, because we went on book tour in a car. Disney wrapped a car, like buses had advertisements on them. They wrapped a car in the cover of our book. They got us 1 car for the East Coast and 1 car for the West Coast, and we went in this car on our book tour. We called it the Swordmobile. We had so much fun on this, but we were trapped in a car together for weeks at a time. So we outlined a whole other book, and that book comes out in August. It's called Bridge to Neverland. It's the 5th and final book in the series, and it takes place in present time. Those of you who have read the series will know how weird that is, but it takes place in present time. So, one of the questions, before I get to that, I've actually got notes so that I stay on track, because usually I just go rambling off, and by the end of it I'm talking about the physical weight of the planet Mars. It has nothing to do with any of my books. Peter and the Starcatchers was such an unbelievable experience for Dave and me. We've had so much fun writing this series. And along the way, the people who brought Beauty and the Beast to Broadway, Disney Theatrical, acquired the rights to it as a stage play. And they hired Rick Ellis, who wrote Jersey Boys, to write Peter and the Starcatchers as a stage play. We have been in development with them, Dave and me and Rick and the directors and the producers, for 4 years. And last week, the play opened off-Broadway in New York. And we were there to see it, and I walked through with my now 14-year-old daughter and said, "See what can come of the simplest idea?" It's an absolutely terrific play. The New York Times gave it the best review any play has gotten in like 30 years. A rave review from Ben Brantley. Its run was extended. If by any chance you're going to be in New York before April 17th, that's when it's going to close, but it is sensational. And I just wanted to give you all a heads up about that.